Hey YouTube, how's everyone doing today? As you can see, it's very cloudy here, but I want to make a video today about some of the things that I don't like about my 2018 Kawasaki Vulcan S 650. I saw some other videos out there where people talk about what they like, what they don't like, so I figured I'd make a video and give you my personal opinion, having owned this bike for 3,281 miles, and to give you my opinions on what I like and don't like. The like video will be coming up next, so stay tuned for that. And if you like this video and you want to see more, please hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. And if you have any comments, if you have one or you have any questions about this bike, feel free to make a comment. I'll answer any questions you might have. But let's talk about this motorcycle a little bit. So this is a 2018 Kawasaki Vulcan S. And I bought it leftover new, and I got a really good deal on it. In fact, this motorcycle, this is not the ABS version. This is the regular version, so non-ABS. And the sticker price on it, I think, is $7,049. I think that's what it is. And then for 500 bucks more, or 400 bucks more, something like that, you can get the ABS version. So this is the non-ABS. So in no particular order, I'll tell you some of the things I don't like about this bike. And they're definitely, obviously they're not deal breakers because I bought it anyway. But I'll tell you some of the things I don't like. And a few of them are my fault. So I got to put that out there, that a couple of things I don't like are my fault. So first of all, one of the biggest things I don't like about it is the shifter. The shifter, this is a bike with forward controls. So for anyone that doesn't know, it means that the foot pegs are out in front of you. So you got your foot, if you can see, way out there in front of you on both feet. Instead of having it below you or kind of back like on a sport bike, these are out front. But the shifter lever has a really long throw on it. Throw meaning it just seems like you have to move the shifter lever a long distance for it to go into gear. On top of that, it's very clunky and kind of not sticky, but it just has a weird click to it. It's not very tactile. It just kind of hits in the gear, and it's kind of spongy a little bit. So sometimes when you're shifting, you're not sure if it actually caught the next gear or if you're still in the previous gear. So that I don't really like about it. But let me get back there real quick, explain that this is not an expensive motorcycle. So you can't expect, cream of the crop. You're not going to get Panigale V4. You're not going to get Aprilia. You're not going to get any of that high-end parts on this bike. So with that understanding in mind, it's all right. Does it do the job? Yes. Has it failed me? Absolutely not. I just don't like the way it functions. One of the other gripes, and this is one of my major gripes about this bike, is the throttle. So I don't know if you can tell on here, but this is how much play it has. If you can see that on the camera, it has a lot of play before the throttle engages. So I could sit here, and I'm sorry, but there's a car behind me. I'm sitting here playing around with the gas. But as you can see, there's that much play. I don't know, what is that, about a third of an inch, maybe, of just free play. And then when you do get on the gas, it's very on-off right at the beginning. It's not very smooth. So when you get on the gas, you're not going to expect a very smooth throttle transition from no gas to gas. And I pulled over because there was a car riding my back tire, and I think he was getting annoyed by me. So I just pulled over here to kind of show you, but this is what I mean by it. So you have this much throttle play, and then that's when it starts giving it gas. So what happens is when you're doing slow maneuvers and you're trying to just feather the gas a little bit, it's very on-off, so you get that jerkiness going on. I don't really like that very much. So that's one of my biggest gripes about this motorcycle. And while we're stopped here, I'll talk about one of the other gripes, and this is one of the ones that I told you about that is my fault, is this exhaust. So this is a Danmoto Highwayman exhaust. And as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, please check that out. It's a thoughts and review on this bike, is that these two exhaust springs that I had on there that came with the exhaust just magically popped off. I don't know what happened to them. They just disappeared. This one stayed, but that one, those two popped off. So I had to replace those. And then as you can see, this decorative plate has these two screws. Well, this one came out. It just fell off. I don't know what it is. It just fell off, probably from all the vibration. But the biggest complaint about this pipe is that it's stupid loud. It's ridiculously loud. I don't mind a louder bike, but this thing is just crazy. So that's my fault. I really can't complain. It's not the bike's fault, it's my fault. But I don't like it, so it made the video. Another gripe I have is the color of this bike. Again, this is my fault. And if you watch some previous videos, you will know that this motorcycle came in white. It used to be white, and it had a black Kawasaki, and I think it had a green S right here, both sides. Well, I don't like white, so I changed it to dark green. And this is plastic dip. Please go back, watch my other video about plastic dip. But anyway, it was dark green. It was a really dark green, kind of darker than the leaves on the trees. And I didn't like it. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't my favorite. So I decided to change to this blue. The problem with this blue is that it has a little bit of a tint, like a purplish tint to it. And I don't like purple. I know I'm sitting here picking around, but I don't like purple. So it has a purplish tint to it. And a couple of people came, looked at it, and saw the bike, and they said it looks great. One of my friends that has rode this bike a few times, he said he likes it, even though it has this purplish tint. But he said when I sent him the picture of the bike, he even said on the picture, you can't see the tint, the purplish tint. It looks blue. And I think the TV screen or the iPhone screen, whatever phone you have or computer, whatever you're watching this video on, it'll probably show up blue. But I assure you, in real life, it has a purplish tint. So I'm not a fan of that. So, plus I chipped it here, and I tried to cover it up, and now you can tell it's been covered up. So I think this bike is going to go back to the white here pretty soon. And so, yeah, I think the blue is going to go away. And I think I'm done trying to plastic dip it. And while I'm here, I'll tell you one of my next gripes about this motorcycle is this fender. This fender is the most pain in the butt fender I've ever seen on a motorcycle. In order to get this fender off, you have to take these screws out here to release it from this bracket. And the bracket is mounted to the fork on both sides. The problem is there's an indentation right here on both sides where the fork kind of sits scrunched in. So the fender has an indentation. The problem is if you take these screws off, there's not enough space to wiggle this fender out. So what you have to do to take this one fender off is take the brakes off, take the wheel off, drop this bracket, loosen it from this fender, and then after you take all that off, then you can turn the fender to the side and take it off. So just to be able to put some plastic dip on there, you have to take the whole front wheel off. It's a complete pain in the rear. I don't like that. Another thing I don't like about this motorcycle, and this is kind of a like and dislike, because this next thing will show up on my like video on what I like about this motorcycle, and that is the power. So this motorcycle is a 649cc parallel twin. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think it puts out about 65 horsepower and like 42, 44 foot-pounds of torque. Now on paper, that doesn't sound like much. And that's what I thought too. When I bought this bike, I thought, well, this is just gonna be like just a play around bike. I'm just gonna play around with it. I didn't expect to do anything crazy with it, but as you can see, it gets up very quickly, very surprising. And the bike weighs, I think it weighs, I want to say low 500s maybe, or somewhere around 500 pounds. I forget the exact numbers. You'd have to look it up, and I'm sure there's figures on that. And I'm sorry for not knowing exactly, but it's not a light bike. So with those numbers, when I saw that, I was like, well, this bike is going to be slow. It's not going to get up quick. But actually it does. It's surprisingly quick. Now, top end on this bike, I topped it out, and I got 118 miles per hour out of this thing. And if I lean down and tuck down behind this tiny little windscreen, I can probably get 120. but that's stretching it, and it's redlined in 6th gear, and obviously I'm not going to do that very long. But I did take it up there maybe twice. Definitely don't want to go that fast on this motorcycle, but then again, I don't usually drive that fast anyway. In fact, very seldom do I ever go that fast. So it's not bad, but the get up on it is actually surprisingly quick. Now, with that being said, the reason I don't like this is because I feel like it's just a little bit underpowered. I wish this motorcycle had a little bit more power. The Vulcan 900 Custom has a 900 cc motor engine in it. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's a 900. Might be a little bit less, a little bit more. But either way, it's got 900 cc engine. So the thing with that motorcycle is that I wish this thing had a 900 in it instead of a 650. I think it would be a lot more enjoyable. Not that it's not right now. It is very enjoyable. But I think it would be a lot more enjoyable if it had a 900 in it. So I think if they put a 900cc motor in this thing, I think it would be a lot better, and I would enjoy it a lot more. So I don't know the numbers on the Vulcan 900, but I will bet you it's somewhere around, I would bet it's probably around, I don't know, 80, 90 horsepower, something to that effect. Probably. Now, I'm just guessing. I have no idea. I never looked up the numbers on it, but I think a 900 motor in this thing would be great, or even an 800. Give me an 850, like an 847, kind of like my my XSR 900 is actually an 847cc bike. I would like to have seen a little bit better. And I'm not complaining because, like I said before, it has surprisingly quite a bit of power, and it gets up quick. And I've seen people test them, and I think Honda, what's his name? Honda Pro Kevin or something like that. Kevin Pro Honda, something like that. Has a website. And even people testing it, people that own this motorcycle have tested it, and they've done 0 to 60 in mid to high 4-second range. So under 5 seconds. So if you really think about it, it's not a slow bike because, I mean, let's face it, what everyday car out there does 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds? Not many. Most cars don't. I mean, you got to have something a little bit higher end up there to do those kinds of numbers. So it is not slow. But when you're going, highway speed, say you're going 70 and you go to get around somebody, or 65 and you go to get around someone, you kind of have to go down to 5th gear. If you're cruising in 6th, you kind of have to go down to 5th gear and, really mash the gas to get around somebody. Because from 70 to, say, 90, or if you want to get up to 100, from 70 to 90, it takes a second. It still gets up. It gets up pretty quick, but it's no XSR 900, I can tell you that. But I'm not disappointed with it. So this one about the power is kind of a like and dislike. And then one of the other things that I don't like about it, and I'll tell you why it's like this, or why I'm suspecting, but this motorcycle has just kind of lower end things on it. For example, this whatever you call this trim piece, it has 4 screws, 2 up here and then 2 back down here, and it's just very cheap. It's cheap plastic. The one of the bolts, all of them is supposed to have a washer. The first time I took it off, one of them is missing a washer. It just had the screw. As you can see, the wires are just zip tied up. I don't know if you can see, but it's just the wires are just not very well hidden. You got these cables down here that are just kind of hanging out there. Just not very well built. But again, this motorcycle is a $7,000 motorcycle, brand spanking new. So you can't really complain. For $7,000, you're getting your money's worth. And trust me, I didn't pay $7 grand. I paid $4,600 for this bike, leftover new. So I bought it in the summer of 19, like August or something like that, July, August. So I've had it almost a year with 3,285 miles on it. And, I paid $4,600 for it. So for $4,600, you're getting a brand new Vulcan S. I really can't complain. I really gotta just shut up. the other thing too is now I just remembered. So this bike doesn't come with a back seat, nor does it come with these foot pegs. So I bought these afterwards, and I bought them straight from Kawasaki. Actually, these I bought off Amazon, but the seat I got from Kawasaki. But here's the thing. $7,000 and you don't get a back seat and you don't get foot pegs. I don't know any other motorcycle that's $7,000 that doesn't come with passenger foot pegs, unless it's a solo bike. But if it's meant for two people or can ride two people, I don't know of any other motorcycle. And comment below if you know one that's $7,000 that does not come with a passenger seat and passenger foot pegs. So you had to buy this separate. But here's the kicker. So under this seat, there's a tool chest. The problem is to get the seat off, first you have to take this Allen head out, and then once you take this Allen head out, under here is the front bracket for the back seat, which also holds the back of the front seat, which also requires an Allen head. But your tools are underneath the seat. So to get to your tools, you better have an Allen head not in your tool chest, in your pocket, or wherever you're going to carry it, because you're not going to get the seat off to get to the tools. So that's kind of stupid. That just makes no sense. That's like tits on the bull. Just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so one of the other things I don't like about this bike is the handlebars. Now, I'm sure watching this video, you've probably seen other videos where people talk about the ergo fit. So Kawasaki has this thing called ergo fit, where there's three different setups. They have extended reach. They have sorry about that, I like gassing it like that. But anyway, so they have the extended reach, the mid reach, and then whatever they call it, close reach, or I can't remember what they call it. Anyway, so there's three different configurations for the handlebars, the foot controls, and your seat. And this is the mid reach setup. For me, I wish it was these handlebars were about an inch forward. The same position would be fine, but I think the way this riser comes up in the bar, I wish the rise started to turn about right here. I'd like to move forward just a little bit. So I guess it's not really the bike's fault. I could have probably asked for the extended reach, so I'm just a little bit farther forward. But when I sat on this bike and test drove it, it was fine. Like, it feels fine. So I just deal with it. But I wouldn't mind if it was a little bit forward. Now, am I going to spend extra money and get a different handlebar and reach it forward? No, I'm not going to do that, because it's just not that big of a deal. But I think that's just one of the gripes that I have about this bike. And it's not that I really don't like it. It's just I wish I could change that. But I'm not going to pay money to do it. So it is what it is. And then one of the other biggest gripes I have is this windshield. Actually, it's not this one in particular, but the windshield itself. So I only got this windshield for looks. I don't care about wind hitting me in the face. I really don't care. You're on a motorcycle. My opinion is, if you don't like the wind, drive a car. So the windshield does two purposes. One, I think it looks pretty good. Number two, it does put the wind up, and it puts, for me, I'm 5'9", and I sit on this bike, and it hits me right at the top of my visor. So it hits the top of my helmet, but right at the top of the visor. If I sit up completely straight, it might hit me right in the visor, but it puts the wind pretty much up high, right at my visor. But here's the big problem. So this is a Puig windscreen. I got it off Amazon, and I don't remember how much it costs. I want to say about $100, somewhere, give or take a little bit. But the actual Kawasaki windshield is like $180 or something like that, just for this part. Wait a minute, because that doesn't include the bracket, the mounting hardware, which is asinine. I think it's just the most craziest thing I've ever heard of. So if you buy the bracket and the windshield, you're up or over $400 for the windshield and the bracket. And I'm sorry, but we are talking about a stupid windshield made of cheap plastic and some bent pieces of, I don't know if it's metal, steel, aluminum, whatever it is, but that's just absolutely asinine ridiculous. And some of the other parts, like the back seat and the foot pegs, the bracket for the foot pegs, are just stupid expensive. So, you know, you have a bike that's $7,000, but the parts for it are just ridiculously expensive. They're crazy. So these people have lost their minds. So anyway, I really can't think of anything else other than one more thing. I'll mention one more thing. It's not really a gripe, but ground clearance. So this motorcycle, if you don't have two people on it weighing it down, it's just one person, and I'm 180 pounds. So with a 180-pound person, the ground clearance before the foot peg starts scraping is pretty good. It's not great, but it's pretty good. I've scraped it a couple times, but you're leaned over pretty good. I'm gonna have to one day do a video and try to do like a lean angle thing to try to figure out at what point, what angle your foot peg starts to scrape at. But it's pretty good. But if you have a passenger on here and it weighs it down a little bit more, it scrapes pretty quick. You go into a turn kind of hot and you're scraping foot peg. So I guess if you can't hot dog this thing too bad on like a twisty road, or you're scraping foot peg, and you still have chicken strip on the edge of your tire. So when you touch foot peg, the bike's leaning capability as far as the tires are concerned, you still have room to go, but the foot peg will touch. So, but the foot peg is on a swivel, you know, like most motorcycles, the foot peg will fold up. So if you touch, it'll kind of fold, but it doesn't have the same kind of feelers as most motorcycles. You know, they have those little, I call them feelers, that stick off the bottom of the foot peg, and they're usually screwed on there so you can replace those. This one is kind of just molded into the foot peg, and it's just a big square looking, I guess, piece of aluminum or whatever it's made of, and it's attached to the foot peg itself. So it's not replaceable, but it makes a horrendous growling noise if it touches. It's very loud. You will have no doubt in your mind you just scraped foot peg. I promise you. And it like jars the whole motorcycle from the god-awful scraping noise. So if you scrape foot peg, you will know it. But other than that, this motorcycle is actually a great motorcycle. And all these things I've listed, some of which were actually my fault, like the paint and the exhaust, but this motorcycle is a great motorcycle, and I highly recommend it to anybody. I would definitely buy it again. I would not do anything different other than maybe buy a different color and not white, and then go through this nonsense of plastic dip. I would just get the color I want, but they didn't have the one I wanted and the color I wanted, and it wasn't that good of a deal because it was a 2019, not an 18. This was a leftover. I got a killer deal on it, so I just took what I could, and it's okay. I'll live with white. I'll deal with it, but that's what I would do different. That's the only thing I would do different. And would I get the ABS model? Maybe. One of the things I really like to do on this motorcycle, I just try not to, is lock up the back wheel and skid when I come up to a stoplight. On the ABS model, you wouldn't be able to do that. So would I get the ABS model? Probably not. I'd probably just get the regular. That's just me though, but I would definitely recommend getting the ABS version. Obviously, it's a safety feature, and so I recommend getting anything with a safety feature. But you know, I've been riding motorcycles 20-some years, and up until, you know, I don't know, the last decade, I never had ABS. So when I learned, I didn't have rider modes, traction control, ABS, none of that. Didn't even exist. So that's what I learned on. So I learned how to drive a motorcycle without rider aids. So knock on wood, I can ride a motorcycle without rider aids. So would I get it again? Yeah, probably not. Not on this bike, but yeah. So that's pretty much sums it up. Other than those things I listed, I really can't think of anything else that I dislike about the motorcycle. But stay tuned to the next video, because I'm going to do another one about the things that I really like about this motorcycle. And like I said, if you like this video or you want to know more, please subscribe to my channel, watch the videos, hit the thumbs up, And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them in the comment section below. I'll be glad to respond, answer any questions. And I guess we'll catch you guys on the flip side.